Hi. Hi there.
Welcome. How are you?
Well, I'm just getting over COVID. I'm way better now than I was a week ago, but I'm getting there and I'm looking forward to being even better in another 9, 10 days and have my throat back entirely for the weekend of talking and meeting up with all kinds of folks. So yeah, I'm good in a
Awesome.
nutshell.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing your work at ArtWalk in the Square. And I'm glad that you're a part of the show again. You've been in our shows for a number of years, I think the outdoor shows.
Yeah, yeah. I've started with Riverdale Art Walk in 2016, and Art Walk in the Square I came to a little later, so this will be my third year.
Oh, awesome.
So, but I
Yeah,
love it. It's a great venue.
yeah, it's a really great opportunity for Toronto North, for a lot of people who do the outdoor shows in the south of Toronto. It's kind of a nice
Yeah.
opportunity for people who live a little bit further north to be able to come out to see some of the artists. So this year we have over 100 artists participating, so that's awesome.
Wow. Wow,
Uh,
that's
so,
great.
yeah, so you're one of our mixed media artists. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about your art practice
Sure.
and what you're excited to show at the show.
Okay, absolutely. So, my process over the last few years has been to start with a collage. So I do a very textured ground of all kinds of papers. And what's new for me over the last little while is incorporating papers that I've made as well as papers that I found and recycled artwork and some purchased papers, Japanese papers, that kind of thing. And then I incorporate an image into that based on either life drawing or my travel photos. And what I decided to do, I also really, really love landscape. And over the summer, I get the opportunity to be up on Georgian Bay for a bit. And I love the water and I love painting outdoors. And I realized that I really wanted to find a way to bring in my love of landscape with my figures. So that's what's a bit different for me for this show. I'm going back to some landscape, but a lot of it is figure in landscape.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm just so inspired by the blues of the water and the just nature's palette. It's just so contemplative and wonderful. So that's a palette I'm drawn to anyway. So it isn't a far stretch to kind of meld them for me.
Right. So if you're doing more of the landscape in your figurative drawing, is your work becoming more realistic, a little bit more impressionist? Like, can you see that it's a landscape, or is it still pretty abstract? Or how are you managing? Like, is the style
Um,
changed a little bit for
yeah,
you, or is it similar to the other work I've seen?
yeah, it's similar to what you've seen. It's more impressionistic. I mean, I can show you an
Yeah, that'd
example
be
if I
great.
just is this the thing here? Whoops. So here's one here, for
Oh,
instance.
wow.
So it's based on an image of my daughter from when we hiked in Tobermory a number of years ago. But I just like the contemplative nature of the imagery and then love being able to experiment and go right in and get the background, whether the papers show through or not. It just is the texture. And then I just work with all those gorgeous blues. And here's an example
Beautiful.
of my own papers right here that are just some of my own scribbles that end up in the rocks. And it's just fun. So I love the idea of abstracting more and more, but at the end, most of my imagery is pretty obvious what it is. It's not as abstracted as it could be. And I'm still
Right.
playing with that. I love the idea of doing more of that, but for me this summer it was just about getting to the landscape and getting and having the water and the blues being part of that images. Those,
So is that what we'll see mostly at Art Walk in the Square? Is a lot of the blues and the landscapes, or are you going to have some of
yep.
your work that's a little bit more like the bright pinks and the oranges? I have one of those pieces. I love it.
That's a good question. I think there's a mix. There'll definitely be a mix. And there'll be a bit pure landscape because I'm going to incorporate a couple of they're not old pieces, they're just pieces that people haven't seen. They're oils in landscape, and I'm going to see how they work. They may or
Right.
may not end up in there, but I like the idea of mixing it somehow this year and bringing them together. But they will be both a lot of blues, but some brighter color too, for sure.
Right. Awesome. Yeah. I'm really fortunate to have one of Susan's pieces. So I encourage everybody to check out her website and follow her on Instagram because I think, did you not post something of you actually making the paper? Did I see you doing that? Did you post? Maybe you need to do a video of making paper. I thought I saw you making paper because I knew you were making your own paper.
I not recently, not
No,
recently,
well, get that
but
done,
yeah,
Susan.
I'm loving doing that. Well, what I do too is I take my old sketches from models and I just rip it up and old,
Right.
pieces that I've been holding on to and thinking, why am I holding on to them? They're not so precious. And I love that that's part of the piece too, that it informs it. And again, whether it gets buried entirely and painted over or not, it's part of it for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love doing that, and I hope to do more and more of that.
So you don't, so it's not difficult for you to kind of paint over that something that might have been precious or may be precious because it might turn into something even better. Is that sort of people who sometimes wonder that, like, how do you figure that out when you're doing like this abstract mixed media work and you're putting these, incorporating these pieces that you really
It's
love and paper that's so beautiful on its own right, and it becomes something new, right?
Yeah,
Like, is
I
that
that's
a
a
challenge?
it's a very good question and it is a challenge, but I think it's a matter of time. I won't always, when you do things long enough, I guess that's the value of having done this for a while is that I have older stuff that I might have liked, and then a while later I'll look at it, months, years, even, and then I don't want it just sitting in my basement, or I have papers that I gather through traveling too that are just beautiful papers, and but they're sitting in a pile, and like, why do that? So
Yeah.
I just sometimes have to take the risk, and sometimes I've Xerox beautiful things so that I can not use the original, but in the end, the really lovely papers, just the texture of them really speaks to the work, and I guess I've gotten a little maybe not necessarily more confident, but just taking more risk. And that's sort of part of the fun. But sometimes it's a matter of giving it time. And over time, I realize I just want to play with different things and use those things.
Oh, that's awesome. Is there anything else you'd like to share about your work or anything else that you have coming up that you want to share? Maybe you can tell everybody what your social handle is, where people can follow you.
Sure, I'm at Susan Friedman Art. I have not been on Instagram too much lately. Um, I had a busy summer with shows, and now I'm really looking forward. I have some really interesting commissions coming up for the fall, so I'll be busy doing that. And those are always challenging. And what I love about those is that they become really personal for the client. So I'll even incorporate papers and imagery that's important to the client. So they will send me things that I can incorporate. And then it's
Oh,
also about an image based on their photos. So I started this last year. I did one last year that I love doing, and I have another big one, a 3-panel commission coming up that I'm very excited about, doing it in the same fashion. So it's challenging and fun. It's something new, and it also is a way to really make the work entirely personal for the
yeah.
client. So I'm really enjoying that. So I have some of that coming up in the fall. And then I like the idea of no other shows for a little bit. So after this one, so I can just experiment with new things. And I'm starting to think I want to try. I did a lot of small 12 by 12s this year for various shows, online shows, Griffith
Right.
Show, Pirate Squid, all the small things. And I really have an itch to just try some really large work. So I'm going to see how big can the support be to get in my vehicle, and or use canvas that's not stretched yet, and really try to play with some larger format things
Wow.
without worrying about having to have it for a show, because who knows what it's going to turn out like. So I'm hoping to try some larger work.
Yeah. So if you have, hopefully you'll get a break so you can try that and play. I think that's always really important for artists.
Oh, yeah, yeah, and I'm really looking forward to that time too.
All right. Well,
Exactly.
awesome. Thanks so much, Susan, for chatting with you. And for those just joining, just a reminder that our Walk in the Square takes place not this weekend, but next weekend. That's September 16th, 17th, and 18th at CF Shops at Don Mills. Susan will be there amongst a lot of other artists, so check her out online. But hopefully we'll see you at Art Walk in the Square. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.